Okay, now let's look at 4.5, which is multiplying. So we learned back in earlier chapter 4 that when you multiply exponents like x to the third times x to the second times x to the third is x to the fifth. That when you multiply exponents, you really add them. So now when we're multiplying like mixed terms, we've got, we're going to multiply the things that are alike. So we're going to multiply number times number, and then exponent times exponent. And just remember, when you multiply exponents, you really add them. So here I'm going to say 3 times 2 is 6. But then x5 times x3 is x to the 8th, because when you multiply them, you really add them. So this next one, negative 12 times negative 2, the signs are alike, so it's going to be a 24. But then when you multiply your exponents, x to the 4 times x to the 5 is x to the 9. This next one's a parentheses with a number out front, so we have to distribute this 3x and use our exponent rules. So here we're going to say 3 times 2 is 6, x times x. These are both like ones, so 1 plus 1 would leave you 2 of them. And then 3 times 3 is, the plus comes down, and then a 9x, because 3x times 3, there's not another x to add it to, so it just stays a 9x. This next one, I have a negative 3 out front, and now I have to multiply it times every single thing over here. So I'm going to say negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9. x1 times x1 is x2. Then a negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 2 is 6. Remember, this is like a 1. So x1 times x2 is x3. Then a negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 5 is 15. x1 times x3 is x4. And so that's multiplying by a single term. But now let's look at this one. This is called multiplying binomials, because this is 2 terms times 2 terms. So you have to do all of the combinations of this. And a lot of the high school teachers, high school books teach FOIL, which tells you to do the first, then the outside, then the inside, and then the last. And if you're used to that method, go right ahead and use it. It works, and it's no problem at all. But I really think, especially when we get down to these harder ones, that what you want to do is all of the combinations. You want to take this first one and multiply it times both things over here. And then you want to take the second one and multiply it times both things. So you're doing all of the combinations. So you're going to say x times x is x squared, and x times negative 3 is negative 3x. I multiplied the first one times both things. Then I'm going to multiply the second one. 5 times x is a positive 5x, and 5 times negative 3 is a negative 15. And then when you are finished, you're going to combine those middle terms because they're both x's, so you end up with an x squared plus a 2x minus a 15. And when we get to chapter 5, we're going to do what's factoring, which is where we start here and we have to work back to the multiplication problem. So we'll look at these further in chapter 5. But let's look at this next one, 2 terms times 2 terms. So I'm going to take the first term and multiply it times both things over here. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared, because I'm adding those exponents. And 2x times negative 3 is a negative 6x. So I did the first term times both of them, and then I do the second term times both of them. Negative 3 times 2x is a negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. And then again, you combine those middle terms to give you a negative 12x plus 9, because now we're adding, so negative 6 and negative 6 is a negative 12. But let's look at this next one. Now I have 2 terms times 3 terms. So algebraically, that's a binomial times a trinomial, because bi is 2 and tri is 3. But still, just like we did this one, we have to do all of the combinations. So I have to take this first term and multiply it times everything over here. So I'm going to say 2x times 3x squared is 6x to the third, because remember, we're adding our exponents. 2x times 2x is 4x to the second, because we're adding our exponents. And 2x times 5 is 10x. So I did the first one times everything. Now I'm going to switch colors here just so you can see the difference. And now I'm going to do the second one times everything. Oh, this pen is running out. So I'm going to say 1 times 3x squared is just 3x squared. 1 times 2x is just 2x. And 1 times positive 5 is just positive 5. So you do the first one times everything, and then the second one times everything. And then you combine like terms. So there's not another x to the third, so that just comes down. But there are 2 of the x squared. So I'm going to say 4x plus 3x, 4x squared plus 3x squared is 7x squared. I'm going to do both of the x's. 10x plus 2x is 12x. And then that 5 just comes down. Okay, and then these last two are really missed a lot on the test because people want to just take this 2 to both things, because in the previous we had something like 2xy to the third, and that 3 would go to everything inside. But this is 2 terms added. This is a binomial, so you can't just make that x squared plus 4. This means there's 2 of these parentheses, so you have to write x plus 2, x plus 2. The 2 means there's 2 of them. And then you can FOIL it or multiply it out, where I'm going to do the first one times both over here. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. And then do the second one times both things. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. And then those middle terms will add together, leaving you x squared plus 4x plus 4. So this one's the same way. Again, this 2 means there's 2 parentheses. So I'm going to write 2x plus 3y twice. And then multiply it out. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3y, so 2 times 3 is, plus 6. X times y, I can't really add them, so I just write xy. And then 3y times 2x is another 6xy. And you could write yx, but it always goes in alphabetical order is the way they write them. So if you write them in alphabetical order, you'll realize those are the same thing. And then 3y times 3y is 9y squared. So again, add those middle terms and you get 4x squared plus 12xy plus 9y squared. And so that's multiplying.